Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. Welcome to the African Roundtable. The title of the session today is Telling African Stories. We'll focus on power, history, demand, and finance. Now, the conversation will explore the growth and impact of African film and TV industry as African content gets more attention globally, and we will speak to key people, yourselves, who are responsible for this shift, are within this shift, and are navigating this shift through current and future strategies. The topic is broad, so this is going to be one of many sessions we will have to discuss. WIFT Africa in general is focusing on the empowerment and support of African and Pan-African women in film and TV by giving capacity building, network, mentorship, education, and economic empowerment. And the focus obviously is for women. We're happy to run this roundtable in partnership with the Forum of Women in Film and TV Nigeria. And I will be introducing 5 amazing panelists for this session. Auntie J. So Auntie J is our industry auntie. Her name is Joke Silva, but she's fondly called Auntie J. So when I say Auntie J, it is Joke Silva I'm referring to. She's an industry veteran, known for positive influence and her role in growing the Nigerian film industry, known as Nollywood. She's also an actress, she's a producer, Auntie J is the co-founder of Lufodo Group, and she has a production company and a film school. So thanks, Auntie J, for joining us. You're an inspiration to us all.
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have Oma Areh. So Oma is our PR and marketing guru, right? She is a communications professional. She's a brand builder and the CEO of Wildflower PR. She also has experience across telecoms, government, film, music, food, beverage, automotive, startups. Oma does everything. So she's obviously a key, a key contact to discuss with when we're talking about film and marketing, film and TV marketing and PR. So thanks, Oma, for also joining us. And then next is Bazeli Mbo. Bazeli will give us, she will give us an insight into the French-speaking film and TV industries. Bazeli also has experience and has been in the industry for over 10 years, has worked with major channels, TV channels, and platforms all around the world. Thanks, Bazeli, for coming on board. And we have Chinecherem Eze. Now, Chinecherem, you have a very interesting background, so we're very excited to hear from you. Chinecherem is the founder of HISSBOX, an online streaming and content distribution platform primarily focused on telling untold and neglected stories. And she's also the CEO of the LA-based FEC Studios. She's an investor, a producer, and is currently serving as a reservist with the United States military. That's very interesting. Yes.
Wow.
So yeah. So today, telling African stories, like I said, it's a very broad topic, and we'll start with a bit of history. So I'm starting with Auntie J. Right. Auntie J, can you, yes. Okay. Can you please touch on the journey and evolution of the Nigerian film industry from the time you started your career to this moment?
Wow. Okay. I started out professionally in 1981. Took a bit of a break around 1982. 1982, 83 for to go to drama school, you know. Now, when I started out, it was very interesting. The perception of people in our profession in acting was such that very few people could actually take on acting as a profession. It was something you did alongside something else, because one, the pay wasn't very good, and but apart from that, what was even more important was that there just weren't that many jobs to sustain, you know. So I mean, I grew up on the shoulders of, you know, I stand on the shoulders of people like Auntie Taiwa Jai Lyset, Mrs. Francesca Emmanuel, late Mrs. Francesca Emmanuel, late Auntie Olga Miller. These were people who were very into performance, all right, from, you know, from when they were young, but they couldn't sustain themselves in that profession. Auntie Francesca became you know, she became an administrator in the civil service, one of the first commissioners or ministers of education that we would, female ministers of education, information that we would have. But what was interesting about it was that these were people who were so, you know, performance was their raison d'etre. And, you know, I mean, but unfortunately, there wasn't that much work. Okay, I started out, moved back to Nigeria, and I went to drama school in England, moved back to Nigeria, was working, but then there still wasn't that much work, you know. Then, I mean, the film industry was there. We had people like the Ogundes and all that doing traditional film. But then fast forward to the, let's say, early 90s. Like I said, I started in the 80s, early 90s, you know, and somehow or other, it was a mix of things. There was technology that made it easier for us to tell our stories. Instead of telling our stories on celluloid, which was what the older filmmakers were doing, and it cost so much money. The downturn of our economy that then made it necessary for people to emigrate out of the country. So those two factors then created a situation in which we could tell our stories cheaper, but then we also had a market because of the migration. Am I making sense?
Okay. Yes.
So you know, so there was that, and so, you know, move into the 90s, early 90s, and somehow or other the work then started increasing. There was more work for people in especially film and TV. I mean, TV had always was always there for Nigeria until this phenomenon called Nollywood came into play, and then somehow or other Nollywood then took over from television, you know, and so we're in a situation now. I'm trying not to take too much of your time because I was trying to, you know, keep a history of what, let's say, over almost 40 years. I would have been in the industry.
It's a broad topic.
Yes, you know, trying to keep it in a capsule. So what we have now is that there's a lot of work now because of the various platforms on which stories can be told. I mean, you have all the streaming services. It's not only television anymore. It's you know, and you know, there's film. I mean, there are just so many platforms to showcase these stories, and so obvious, and they all want content. So obviously, there's a lot of work. Now, what that means is that when I started out, there were very, very few of us who were acting as professionals. Someone like myself, to keep body and soul together, I also did a lot of teaching. I was teaching in different, in various schools, primary schools and secondary schools, and you know, but then after my generation came the generation of the Kate Henshaws, of the Genevieve Inajis, of the Bimbo Akitolas, of the Omotola Jola days. Now with their group, you know, so there was there was a larger group of people who took acting as a profession. Then after them, of course, there were more and more. So now it is a bona fide profession in Nigeria.
Yeah.
You know, it's been an exciting journey to see that, you know, movement from a struggle to, you know, to a situation now where if you're focused, if you're dedicated, there is a pathway. There is a pathway to, it's not perfect. There's a lot of work for us to do, but there is definitely a pathway. There is a professional pathway, which is nice.
Fantastic. I think yes, you put it together nicely. And I think it's also interesting that right now it's been celebrated. So people can now go into the profession knowing that, you know, it's not just on the side to be an actor. And like you said, a lot of work needs to be done. I'll also ask you what your challenges and successes have been as an actress. I'll put as an actress today, actress. What have been your challenges and successes in the industry over time? And what are the changes you want to see?
Okay. First of all, challenges. I think one of the earliest challenges was the challenge of perception. Before my generation, what tended to happen was that a lot of people in performing were thought to be prostitutes. I mean, it's you know, it's something that's global for the early years of any industry. I mean, for our industry, and so people like Ogunde, who was one of the early progenitors of this industry, he told stories in Yoruba. He had to marry a lot of his actresses just to give them that. Yes, you know, they ended up having to marry quite a lot of them, you know, just so that they looked, what was it now? They were seen as honorable people of the society, and they were incredibly amazing, talented actors, you know. So that's perception. I remember, you know, when I came back from drama school, I was at that time, I was quite a chain. I was a chain smoker, and one of my friends, we went to school together, and I just saw her looking at me, and she said, and you know, one of the things that she said was that, "Oh, okay, I understand." I said, "What do you understand?" "You know, the way you're smoking, of course, you're an actress."
Oh my God.
I'm like, "Is it only actors that smoke?" You know, he was like, "Okay, you know, this kind of lifestyle is okay because you're an actress." So there was that percent, you know, the perception of not seeing us as articulators. That's it. As articulators of the experiences of a people, as part of the storytelling community. The author was seen as the scriptwriter was very, you know, very serious, was taken as a professional. The cinematographer was taken as a professional. But the actor, who is actually the interpreter of the stories that are being told, is seen as a flighty, fly-by-night, you know. But over the years, that has changed. And I think part of it has also been the fact that luckily one has had the opportunity to tell stories not only in the theater, which has a lot of, you don't make a lot of money in, well, it's changed a bit, but you know, you don't make that much money in the theater, but it has a lot of respect. As you know, when you contrast it with film and TV. In the early days, we did more TV, and our industry has actually grown from TV, We did a lot of TV. We had some of the most incredible storytellers from TV. And you know, now, but with the advent of film, the like I said, there's been more work, but also now one of the challenges has been the fact that because the entry level into the business is so low, it's almost like an all-comers affair, and people who do not see the work as a profession but as a stepping stone to fame, to recognition, you know, they've kind of diluted the seriousness that that's attached to the profession. But you know, that is being taken care of as well. That's part of the struggles, and one of the ways we're trying to mitigate that is setting up professional training schools.
Yes.
Yes. The highlights have been, incredible award systems that, one has garnered some of the most respected awards, over the years. I've quite a lot of them, in fact.
A lot.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but that has been very gratifying. But I think what has been even more gratifying, to be honest, is the fact that there are so many young people, talented, skilled young people, young women who are coming into the industry, wanting to make it a profession. It gladdens one's heart. It's really, and you feel that a lot of the work that you have done over the years has not been in vain. There are people who are taking over, who are doing exceptional work. As performers, a lot of people are becoming, like myself, performer producers.
Yes.
Which is also fascinating, very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing a time when we're not just an industry that is celebrated continentally, because Nollywood is celebrated continentally. We are part of, because we have earned it, part of the storytelling of the globe, of the globe, because we have earned it. I get really irritated, I think, when I hear when people are talking about the world. And the world consists of only the West and Right. So I'm looking forward to that when that narrative changes.
And it would come. And with all the work, everyone is working, to get to that point. Thank you, Auntie Jay, for the insight to that. So I would go to Bazeli now. Bazeli. So we've seen different calls and efforts to push the diversity and inclusion within the Francophone African and the French African communities.
Yes.
Why do you think it's important to put African stories forward, and why now?
It's important to put the story forward because our stories are unique. And we are Francophone, and we have to realize that, because sometimes people, when they think about Africa, they think that it's a country. No, Africa is 54 countries with different culture, with different way of living, So I'm from Congo. So when I watch Nigerian or Ghanaian or South African stories, okay, they are African, but the story they're telling are not quite the same of what me as a Congolese could live in my specific culture as a Congolese. So it's very important to have her own story, to be able, as Auntie Jay just said, to tell her own story, to change the narrative, and to be able ourselves to tell what we experience on a daily basis.
Fantastic. Well put. I know that there are high demands of, original content, original Francophone content from the Francophone community.
Yes.
What are the major challenges of the French African film and TV industry, and what are the solutions based on your experience? What are your suggestions on how to, you know, counter this challenges you have?
I would, if you let me, to separate different type of populations. I would talk about first the African Francophone who live in Africa, who were born there, who grew there, and there are so many talented people there. So many people who want, you know, to act, to direct, to produce, but as you know, you came there first before us, because we are looking up to you guys from Nigeria. You know, I'm so thrilled to have Auntie J here, because, you know, I am Chinecherem. I'm so, you know, a fan of you, because we're looking up to you. And Auntie J started in the 80s, but in Francophone African, people have been acting since then, you know. But I would say the opportunities, you know, are not that important. I would say as well the economic challenge that we have. And Auntie J was talking as well of training school. We don't have this type of thing there in Africa. So I think there is a matter of training people. You know, we need fundings. Obviously, I think we're going to talk about that later. And as well, we don't have to wait for others to tell us we can. So it's a matter of just going there and do what we know to do. So this is from the African part. And as a French African who lives in Europe, who live in France, we also have different kinds of challenges. I would say as well the opportunities. We are French. I mean, I'm French, but as I'm a Black girl, you know, I would not have the same opportunity as another French white woman. So this is the truth. This is a reality, and we are facing it on a daily basis as well in the TV and film industry. So this is one challenge. The other challenge is all the mainstream key actors in the industry who don't want to take the risk, you know, to show us on TV or in film. It's very rare, you know, to see a girl like me having a main role in a series or in a movie. It's kind of rare. We have the funding challenge as well. So to get the money to do our movie. And I would say the solutions today, we have solutions. And the digital transformation helps us to get the solution. I will explain that in a minute. The economic models has changed. Now the audience has a power. If you have a good content, you can catch your audience and start doing your things. And then those people who don't want to take the risk to invest on you will say, oh, there are money to get there, because there is an audience. So, you know, the digital internet, the fact that we can show what we know, our talents, we can have a free platform to show how we can do things. So this is one solution. But what I would say is today we have to go for it. You know, we don't have to wait anymore for people to tell us we are able, we can, we are good to do things. Let's do that with the means we have. And if we can find some fundings by showing that there is audience, an audience is here ready to pay. And it's a fact. As a French African, I'm ready to pay for people who will tell my stories.
Fantastic. Really well put, Bazeli. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that Chinecherem is here as well. First of all, Chinecherem, thanks. Congratulations on the launch of your streaming platform, HISSBOX. And the reason it's important that you're here is based on what Bazeli is saying. It's good that I come to you next. I was going to talk to Oma next, but I think
I said a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Because talking about just basically talking about funding, you're an investor, and the idea of your platform, from what I know, is to tell stories that are untold. So I think you should give us a little background to HISSBOX and why you thought it was important to set HISSBOX up.
Okay. So yeah, before I start, Oma, yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and Tujaka, it's so nice to see you. I love your movies. I grew up like she said. She started in 1982, I believe, and I wasn't even born then. So like you can imagine when I started watching movies. So yeah, you guys did a great job or are doing a great job. And Basically, your story or the things you shared was just beautiful and amazing. And it's interesting because most of the things that you said are part of like the solution that HISSBOX is bringing to the table. But before I even go further, let me just talk about HISSBOX, you know, who we are, what we're doing, and why we're here and why I'm here. So basically, HISSBOX is a VOD platform, and then we're focusing on streaming, we're focusing on production and distribution. And then when it comes to streaming, we are streaming all kinds of genres, from like action, horror, drama, you name it. And we're also streaming like non-structural formatted content as well, like TV series, kids, game shows, and things like that. And then and we're streaming this to like a global diaspora community. That's like our target market, our target audience. And then when it comes to production, HISSBOX produces or will be making original content. And this contents again, our major focus for now would be like the global diasporan community. And that's amazing, Bazeli, that you spoke, because like we have so many stories from like that area and that part of the world that we rarely hear. Even the Eritrean stories, the Somalian stories, African francophones, and like other, you know, diasporans in like all parts of the world as well. We don't really get to hear, and these people here have their stories. Imagine like even, imagine a Russian living in Nigeria, they do have a story, they have experiences. Like imagine a German living in Australia, they all have stories, you know, and these are stories that again, we rarely see them out there. And that's really where HISSBOX comes in. And then in terms of distribution, we also wanted to create a platform where content creators and filmmakers can also be able to showcase their own content through our pay-per-view platform, you know, to be able to distribute their movies by themselves. And I think that's very important. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's just really what HISSBOX is about.
Okay, fantastic. My next question for you, what kinds of stories would you invest in? What are your, what's the focus right now in terms of projects? Because I know you mentioned a broad, sort of like you're interested in everything, but let's say in the next 6 months, what is your target? What are your target projects? What are you interested in, you know, putting money down for?
Okay, so right now, for the next 6 months, HISSBOX is really interested in, again, like I mentioned, target audience is global diaspora community. And when we talk about that, we're talking about minorities, just like we mentioned. So, and when you come to minorities, again, we don't really see those stories more out there. So we want to invest in those field. We want to invest in those community for them to be able to share their stories to the world. I believe the world wants to hear from them. I want to hear from them personally, and there are so many people that wants to hear their stories. So we want to invest in those communities, be it, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, Somalians, Eritreans, Francophones. We want to push money there and have these content creators come and tell us the story, because who is in a better way or better position to tell a story than people that are from that place? We see Black people, as all of us Black people, sometimes we get really pissed when we see some stories about slavery, colonization, and like somewhat like civil rights movement and all the stories, interesting stories following our history. And we see some of these stories are being told by people that don't look like us. And we see the perspective and the angle to the story. And sometimes the way that they tell the stories is not really what it is. But someone has to tell the story, and they're telling the story. So I think this is the right time for us to kind of talk about our stories. Let's share our stories to the world, our angles, our perspective. And I think that the world would, you know, really be listening, and they would be willing to listen. You know, so yeah, that's kind of our focus for the next 6 months.
That is amazing. Thanks once again for joining us. She's launching HISSBOX on. She's launching today. Actually, she's launching HISSBOX today. Yes. So congratulations on launching HISSBOX.
Thank you, Inya. Thank you, guys.
Yes, and we look forward to. Auntie J is a producer. Bazeli is into production. So many people would love to work with you in achieving this, and you know, we're glad to have finally have an investor who sees this, you know, point of view and is willing to put money down to say, I'm invested in telling the story. So that's absolutely amazing. Next, I will go to Oma, still talking about money, because finance is very important.
Yeah.
Oma, based on your experience as with African films, what are the ultimate do's and don'ts to consider for film marketing? Because film marketing is also a big deal when it comes to the process of making films and, you know, achieving commercial success. So yeah, question to you.
Thank you very much. On film marketing, the first thing you would consider, for me, especially from experience, 99% of the time, if I would say, people come to you with a finished product and they say, okay, I've got this film, I've done everything, can we start marketing it, can we start pushing it out? The biggest thing I have realized is that promotions and marketing need to be a part of the process from the very beginning. Even before you go into production, you need to sit down and think about, okay, what are we going to achieve? Because what happens most of the time is that there's a lot of content, a lot of angles, a lot of things that you'd have done to push even during production, and everything is wasted. So what you have is just the finished products that you have to work with. So to put your best foot forward, first of all, you have to start from the very beginning. Once you have your scripting, you've done the casting and everything, that's when you ask marketing to come in. Let's sit down and have this conversation. During that period, you're also having conversation with distribution. You need to understand exactly what you're getting, because what I've realized as well is that producers' expectations from distribution normally falls short, because there are so many things that they expect from the distributor. If you have, or the marketer. So if you have these conversations from the beginning, then you know, oh, this is what my responsibility is, this is what your responsibility is. And then even little details like the marketing activities of the cast, that is so crucial. And that is so crucial because it's even part of their contractual obligations. So you see, for a lot of filmmakers, not see that. Auntie Jane, you know you're always amazing. So that is a very crucial part of the marketing. Those little things that might not matter. And if you have those conversations early on, you know that that is out of the picture and that area is sorted. Then the second part would be budget. I will tell you, I started my career in film writing for Screen Africa. That was my first interest in film. It's based in South Africa. So that was when I was very excited about what was happening in Nigeria and what was happening in South Africa. And I realized that, especially in TV, there was a lot of budget being given to marketing, that was not being given in this area. So what you have right now in budgeting is sometimes the budget is a fraction, not a percentage, a fraction of the entire production. In Hollywood right now, if you check with movies that are $100 million movies, at least 80% of the budget goes to marketing. Sometimes it's 50%. That is how important it is. And I think a lot of filmmakers have started understand that and have started moving with that. But the biggest problem we have is that we present marketing with the final budget, with the final, that's the final step. Oh, I've done everything. But marketing should be the first step, part of the first step. You need to decide. So for me, if I want to take a project, before I would start with oh, fantastic idea. How is the audience going to react to this? How are we going to do this? But then the budget is crucial. The budget has to be considered in the beginning, because what happens is we end up working with what is left. And so imagine you create a masterpiece and you're unable to push it. So the value that you have put into production, you haven't put that same value into marketing. So I think that's a very, very crucial part that we need to look into. Like I said, a couple of filmmakers right now are doing that right. So you have a film and you know you're going to push it widely everywhere. It's very important. So I also think that the story is important. Right now, there are very few people, except people working with grants or organizations, very few people working for, you know, for a non-profit in movie making. Most of the time, we want to make profits from it. So the stories are also very important. It's great that Chinecherem is here, so she's able to put the money towards that. But if you're trying to come up with a profit, it's very important for you to think about how you're going to push this. How is the audience ready for this story? If the audience is not ready, is there a way that this story can be told? Because another thing is that the audience also gets tired. Right now, we do comedy, but if you see the trend of income generation, people start getting tired over time, and they want new stories, and they want new experiences. So all these things really have to do with marketing, are conversations that have to be had. What do we need to do? This story, how are we going to tell this story? Who is our target audience? Very simple things like target audience are a big problem. I know it's usually marketing speak, but the target audience of your film is crucial. I've had people that are making a film for women, but it's not women that are really the primary audience for that film. So you're making a film and you believe, oh, because it's featuring a woman, it's women that will be interested. And you tailor your entire marketing activity towards targeting the women, when maybe it should have been broader, maybe there should have been an area of the audience you could concentrate with. So these are, I hope it answers your question.
Yes.
I could go on and on. But
yes, it does. Yeah, and Auntie J, would you like to comment? There was a there. Would like to hear from you. What the
Oh, I am such an active listener. Sometimes I embarrass myself, but thank you so much, Oma, for that, because you gave a lot of insight, you know, into a lot of things that happen with marketing. But the reason why I said is the fact that, you know, especially when we talk about budget, for instance, let's talk about that. I think we're missing it a lot in Africa. We are not budgeting properly. We are budgeting, you know, we're so, yes, it is showbiz, it's show business. But when we budget, there seems to be such a lot of concentration on the business side of it, that the creative and the creatives, not only the creative process, but the creatives of that are sometimes sidelined. And the issue with that, for me, what I mean by that is that you believe that to make money from this film, let's just pick a number out of the air, is that if I make this film for 5 million, the likelihood of me making 20 million, 30 million profit is high. Okay? Than if I make the film for 20 million and then make a profit of 30. All right? Am I making sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Now, when you make it at 5 million, because you want to reap 300%, what that means is that all your creatives down the value chain are earning under subsistence fees. Now, if they are earning under subsistence fees, what then tends to happen is that a lot of your good talent you will lose over time. And so when you say that when your budget, you're paying under subsistence level fees, you're now saying that the actor, it is in the contract of the actor to push the film. Excuse me. Since you are insisting that this is the budget you are using to, as soon as I'm done with this film, I have to go to the next one so that I can earn a living.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And this is one of the things, it's a matter of value. Valuing what everybody brings to the table. If we value whatever, just like Oma was saying about the fact that marketing needs to be brought on board immediately, so that, because I love what you were saying about, in the sense that when you read a script, when you bring in marketing will then be able to tell us, one, who the target audience is, who, and what are the things we need to put in the film so that it's easier to push. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Value everybody on the value chain, because a piece of a film is like real estate. One of the things that one has, it's like real estate, and it has value for the rest of its life. Yeah. But when you look at it as for today, I must make 300% from today, you are slowly but surely killing the industry, killing the people who are helping you to create the content.
Absolutely.
That's why I said.
Wow. That's an interesting perspective. Wow.
You agree, Omar. So when it comes to the choice of films now to market, what and I'm asking this question following what Auntie J has said. What is your process? What do you sort of look at? Because yes, you've mentioned actors and the creatives pushing the film. Do you is part of your process asking the producers what sort of agreement they have with the creators? Yeah, for example. So what is your, if you can just summarize what your process is?
Okay, first of all, the story is very important to me. Recently, in the past 2 years, we've said no to a lot of work. And it's just because I believe that, like Auntie J is on about quality, I believe in it a lot. Because we've had offers, for instance, that were so good, but the output or the work that was presented was very poor quality, because they didn't pay attention, they didn't maybe hire the right people, they didn't do due diligence, they didn't do a lot of those things. Now, there is a, would I call it a predisposition to shock a film or a work full of the big names that would give you a lot of traffic. And there is a lot of work. Some of them haven't even been released, and with what is happening in cinemas now, I don't know when that is going to happen. But there is a lot of work like that. A lot of, money has been spent, but the work isn't good enough for me. Because ultimately, the goal for us, and I know everyone here, is to be able to let our work be seen and appreciated on a global level. So it's very important to me, because I got into this passion because of passion. So first of all, the story is important, and then of course you have the good story. But for me, as somebody in marketing, I would ask myself, who is going to watch this film and where are they? So we have a lot of films that have very good stories, but the audience is not there. So for them, I am not afraid to tell people, maybe you should consider alternative platforms where you should show it. But everybody wants to go straight to the cinema, whether the work they have is for the cinema or not. So the story is important to me, and the goals for the client. So if you say, okay, this is the story I have. I need to think about who's the audience, who's going to watch it. Right now, digital is so important. Is there any way we can spin this? Is there any angles that we can use? Because it's one thing to do a trend, but one thing I've discovered is if you always find a new angle to a presentation, it's going to cost you much less. And that's the simple truth. If you find a new way to tell a story that is already like trendy, if you just find a new angle, find a way to engage people online. And these days, it's not only Gen Z or the millennials that are online, everybody's online. Everybody's on Facebook or Instagram or Nairaland, and definitely everybody's on WhatsApp. So you just need to figure out who your target audience is, where the audience gathers. Is this a story they're going to want to watch? And above all, is this a story they're going to want to share? After watching, are they going to share it? So for me, that's the process. But most importantly, and that is from experience, the budget. We've come back to that place. But the budget is so important. And knowing the budget from the beginning guides you on what to do. It's not just a matter of, oh, you need to throw money at a thing. Because for me, most of the time, it's money and strategy. But it's very important from the beginning to know this is what I have. Because a lot of times, we don't know this is what you have until everything is ready, and it's maybe a month to when it's supposed to hit. I have done a movie 2 weeks to when it hit the cinemas. In fact, it was 1 week because it was a week and 3 days.
Yeah.
And absolutely nothing had been done. So if you need to plan, it's very crucial. You must start from the beginning. There's a lot of work that is great work, that are masterpieces in my own opinion, but they do not get to be seen in the way they're meant to be seen just because there is no budget or there was no planning, from the beginning budget-wise. Because I find that a lot of filmmakers are very surprised when you say, you give a budget. They're always surprised. Nobody has ever gotten to me like, oh, okay, that's fine. Everybody is always shocked. I think surprise is even, they're always shocked by the budget that you present. But guess what? If you start from the beginning, it's cheaper. If you start from the end, a lot of work I've done is 4 weeks to the cinema, 3 weeks to the cinema. And we're honestly not miracle workers. We're not. But we have to find a way to get people to go and see that film. So if you understand that that is a crucial part, creative people want to focus on finishing the work and then putting it out there. That's the primary focus of, a creative person. So that's not always the first thing that occurs to them. But right now, if we want to do what we need to do, because a lot of great work is not at the top of the box office or anywhere. It is just, it's just somewhere else, and the people that need to see that work and that would appreciate that work are not there. Because I'm somebody that believes that every story has its audience, and every good film can make money. I believe that. But that is if the right things are being done.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Oma. I'll go to Bazeli. I'll just have a question for everyone and then we'll wrap this up. Bazeli, what advice do you have for creatives within the Francophone industry right now in terms of getting, taking the move on, basically, and going for what they believe that they want to do and what they want to achieve? What advice do you have?
Sure. The advice I will give them is just to go for it, to not wait for someone to contribute, or there are some people who manage to get a great audience just with this.
Yeah,
mobile phone. We have the power now. Go on YouTube, as Oma said, on Facebook, Instagram. We all have this social media platform. That's why I said earlier that the digital transformation changed everything. because you have the talent, because you have a mobile phone, you can start from there. So just and if you manage to get this audience, I'm telling this for people who don't have enough funding or finance to start doing something. You can just go there and show yourself, believe in yourself, believe
it,
and don't wait for people to say you can do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Fantastic. Chinecherem, I know that you are also launching a diversity fund today. She's launching a fund as well for filmmakers. So we'll be coming to you to get some money. I'm just telling you right now. All of us, the producers here.
That's why we're here, Oma. Inya, I keep calling you Oma. Oma, you're beautiful. That's why I keep calling back.
Okay, so yeah, so the details would be on your website, I'm guessing. We'll share that with everyone as well for the funding. So if they want to apply, they're able to apply. And from the conversation we had before now, you also mentioned that it would be a continuous thing. So you'd announce funding from time to time, every 3 months, every 1 month, every 2 weeks?
Every 3 months.
Every 3 months.
And Inya, speaking of content, I also wanted to mention, because if there are like filmmakers out there in the world, any part of the world, if you're ever in Los Angeles, just feel free. We do have a studio. I have a studio, FX Studios, and it's in partnership with HISSBOX. It's a 47,000 square foot studio. It's really huge. So we not only do we use the studio to make our own original content, but we're also willing to partner with like different filmmakers, producers, so they can use the studio as well to make their own content. And I think that that's amazing. Also, this space is also a multi-purpose event space / studio, so you could use it for other events as well. So I just wanted to mention that.
Amazing. Thank you. You're doing well. It's good news for the industry. And then Oma, what advice would you give to filmmakers, especially during this COVID times, because it's not easy? What advice would you give to any filmmaker making a film now from your own work experience?
Okay, the simple truth is that the cinema will never be what it used to be. And it's a very hard truth to swallow. Everybody from the big studios in Hollywood, for instance, are beginning to change their business models. It's not going to be, before we fully recover, okay, just imagine if we're going to sell out a cinema hall previously and it was 100 people. So now a sold out crowd, when the cinema opens, would be 50 people. What are we going to say about the income that is coming in? So we need to start looking beyond. And like I think Bazeli referred to that, the barriers to entry are very low now. I'm not saying you should just go and enter. Definitely know your craft. But there is a possibility for everybody. Right now, everybody owns their own media channel. Once you have an audience also. In fact, if you're somebody, once you're not shy, I will just use words like that. Once you're not shy and you're a creative and you like to talk or you like to show something, to act or anything, people are doing skits, and we've been looking down on these people for a very long time, but everything is turning around. YouTube, for instance, you can go to YouTube, set up your own channel. YouTube will work like your TV channel. All the work is there. We have a lot of people that are only looking to Netflix. Beyond Netflix, there are other channels. There's HISSBOX now that she's talking about. So there is a place to put your stuff out. There is a place digitally. And the barriers to putting work out, waiting for your money to come out, they're reduced. So it's possible to create content, not only content that goes to the cinema or content that goes to terrestrial or cable TV. You can create content, quality content, that goes to other platforms that are digital. So I think that we need to realize and understand that every time something shifts in the industry, and that has happened, as much as we want the cinemas to come back, you can see Disney changing their strategy. Mulan was supposed to come out in the cinemas, but now it's going to Disney Plus, who, by the way, I think they gained 20-something million subscribers over during the lockdown, the global lockdown period. And that was when they released, I think, The Mandalorian. That's where the world is going to now. And we need to adjust. And we need to find a way to thrive in that system. And the beautiful thing is that we can thrive in that system. Just choose the channels you want to use. You can monetize. Facebook now offers monetization aside from YouTube. I have, been asking, I think it's one of the things we need to do here, call Facebook on. So a lot of creators are making money off of Facebook the same way they're making money off of YouTube. Sometimes with Facebook, you can even make more, just creating content exclusively for your Facebook pages. And then you have platforms like HISSBOX that is both TVOD and SVOD, which is transactional VOD and subscription-based VOD. Yeah. So if you want to premiere your film, you can premiere your film on that platform and collect like a pay-per-view, direct your marketing efforts towards it. So we need less money to create content right now. I believe that. And we need less money to market content. We don't need to do the big blockbusters yet. But we can start with what we have. And the audience is even more online than they are offline. And that's the simple truth. They are more online. So why are we spending a lot of time and resources? I'm not against the cinema, so I don't want to sound like that. But why are we spending a lot of time and resources going through that route?
Especially for people who can't afford it.
Exactly. For people who can afford it, but who need their stories to go out. It is very possible to get, she's talking about a studio. Go to a studio, do something, get it out. People are doing it. People are doing it. There's so many platforms right now. There's so many people that are creating, that run their channels like a TV station. So you just go there, you see all their content on there. So there really is not that there's nothing, but the barriers are really low. We cannot mourn as if we've entirely lost something. There are so many other opportunities that are available to people that a lot of people have already taken. People don't realize how many people have been creating content for digital these past few years, because we've only been watching, the cinema numbers, but there's a lot happening out there. There are a lot of people that are YouTube stars. I never knew about them until I went to YouTube. They have millions of views. Now you have people just coming to watch that content there. There are so many VOD platforms digitally that people also subscribe to that are even more affordable than Netflix, but there's content there. They pay for special content. You go, you can premiere your film there for the next month. People are paying to watch it, and after that, and then you're making income and not just reliant on the traditional model. So I think that we need to tell ourselves the truth that things have changed. And are we going to be part of that change, or are we going to continue to mourn what is not going to be like it was before? It's very dire to be. It's very right now to believe that things are going to go back to where they were. Because it's not only because of COVID, but it's because people have realized that maybe they actually enjoy sitting down, plugging what they want to watch, and chilling to watch it. And that is very true. So not that cinema is going to die, but maybe it's going to cost a lot more to get people out there. But meanwhile, instead of waiting for that and regular traditional platforms, there is so much more happening. And there are more people. I can tell you that every year, people are losing, say on TV, people are losing viewers every year. I can tell you that most of the TV shows on TV, on a daily or a weekly basis, when they are not getting up to 100,000 viewers, but they're still getting the advertising. But if you go to a platform like YouTube, you're going to get your 100,000, 500,000, 1 million. So while TV is still there and cinemas are still there, we also need to think about maybe we can also create content for digital because there is also a way to, create it in a way that they can consume it digitally, and just create it and put it there.
Wow, Oma, thank you so much.
Great insight.
Thank you. Very insightful. So I'll go to Auntie J. Auntie J, you're closing us up today. So what advice would you give to filmmakers all over Africa? So we're talking about African and Pan-African filmmakers now. What advice would you give based on experience, especially this time? Yeah.
Especially, sorry?
Especially this present time, the COVID times.
Okay. Bazeli, thank you for what you said, and Chinecherem, hey, we are coming to that today. Don't worry. Wonderful for just making us see that this is the reality. Especially with the digital space, what I'd just like to add to that is for all of us within Africa is that we have the opportunity to tell stories that can aid in the development of us as a people. I think some of the challenges that we have faced as nations, is the fact that we've had to a lot of our developmental challenges are happening at a time when the whole world can see what those developmental challenges are, making us look as if we're not doing anything, and we're not making progress. However, as storytellers, we are the ones who can tell stories to our people, to make our people love who we are. I think that is so important. Stories that make us love us. When we love us, what we do for the space for the nations that we are in changes, the narrative changes. Because of our history, which one doesn't want to go into here, because of our history, sometimes there is a bit of self-loathing, self-hatred. That it is within the power of the storytellers who tell stories on film, on TV, digitally. It is within our power to change that narrative for us. That for me is more crucial than anything. Once we get the story right for us, then the rest of the world, okay, it's all right to come and see our stories. You're welcome.
No, come along.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Auntie J. I don't know how else I would have summed it than what you just did. And I think, it's very important to see a reflection of ourselves on TV, like you said. Tell our stories so we can appreciate ourselves some more. So thank you so much for everyone for coming on board, sharing your insights and experiences. And I'll also like to thank Auntie J. You're the president of the Forum for Women in Film and TV in Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on board. And we'll also like to thank Carla 2020 for making us a part of their program, and also Women in Film and TV International. So thank you all. We should do this more often. There's a lot to discuss.
Oh, and Inya, don't forget, before I forget, you guys should please go subscribe to our platform, www.hissbox.com. If I forget,
subscribe.
Yeah, we need you guys to subscribe. Yeah.
You're doing amazingly well. And yes, like I said, this is just one out of many sessions that we'll have talking about, our stories. There'll be a session with Auntie J. Auntie J, I just want to sit down and listen to the history of Nollywood and your process. And then Oma, film marketing, amazing. We don't talk about it enough. And Bazeli, Francophone, we need to bring everyone on board and just talk about these things. And you as well, Chinecherem, I think it's very important to highlight most of the things that you're talking about. So thank you so much. I love you guys. Thank you. And I will see you.
Thank you, Inya. Thank you, Inya, to putting us together. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye to Jay, Bazeli, Inya. Bye, guys. Bye.
Mwah.
Yeah.